From KTVN, this is 2 News Nevada Evening Edition.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kristen Remington.
And I'm Arianna Bennett. Welcome to 2 News Nevada at 4. Here's what we're working on for you this afternoon. The Washoe County School District Board of Trustees met today to discuss and possibly take action regarding the process for selecting the next superintendent. We have more on that, but first.
You have a responsibility as well. Contact your local government. Make sure your information is up to date so that we do have the accurate information to get a hold of you or contact you.
Nevada's Secretary of State toured the Washoe County election facility 2 weeks ahead of the state-mandated presidential preference primary. Voters decide coming up.
But first, polls are about to close in New Hampshire, where voters cast ballots in the Republican presidential primary today. That tops 2 News Nevada Evening Edition at 4 o'clock. Now, today's contest in New Hampshire was between the 2 remaining candidates in the race for the GOP nomination. That's Nikki Haley and former President Trump.
Skyler Henry is in New Hampshire for us with the very latest on this race.
Hey, Kristen and Ari, good to be with you. 22 delegates up for grabs here in the Granite State as former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley looks to try to close the gap between her and GOP frontrunner, former President Donald Trump. She has crisscrossed the state of New Hampshire, fine-tuned her message, and says she is optimistic.
Voters streamed to the polls, casting ballots in the first one-on-one contest in the Republican race.
I voted for Trump. I care most about Second Amendment and pretty much staying out of war.
With 22 delegates at stake, former President Donald Trump stopped at a Londonderry polling place. He's predicting a big win here in New Hampshire, a week after his Iowa victory.
There's never been a movement like this, make America great again, in the history of our country.
Polls favor the former president by a wide margin, but Nikki Haley is hoping to cash in with independents and anti-Trump voters. Her supporters say the former UN ambassador has what it takes to be president, especially when it comes to foreign policy.
She understands the intricacies of that and understands that we need to be strong on the world stage. And right now we're perceived as weak.
She just adds a very optimistic energy to the room. And that's who we want to lead our country. Someone who is very positive.
In fact, the results are already in from tiny Dixville Notch. All 6 registered voters cast their ballots for Haley.
I'm not in the prediction business, but I do believe that now that it's a 2-person race, it might be a little closer than the Trump campaign would like.
Campaigning in Hampton, Haley welcomed the early sweep.
You know, right now we'll take whatever we can take. It was certainly a good start. It gave us some good energy and momentum, and I'm grateful to those 6 people.
She says no matter what happens in the Granite State, she'll continue to fight.
CBS News exit polling shows that Republican voters here in the Granite State say that they are concerned about the state of the economy as well as abortion rights issues and immigration. Now, the first polls closed right about now. The polls will stay open elsewhere across the state up until 8 o'clock Eastern. We're here in Manchester, New Hampshire. I'm Skyler Henry, 2 News Nevada.
All right, Skyler Henry reporting for us live as usual. Here at home today, Secretary of State Cisco Aguilar toured the Washoe County election facility to meet with newly appointed Registrar of Voters, Arianna Burgess.
That's right. Josh Meny attended the press conference and joins us now with more details. Josh?
Yeah, so we're only 2 weeks away from Nevada's presidential preference primary, and ensuring election integrity is a top priority. This year, the Secretary of State's office is rolling out a more comprehensive process for voters to communicate directly to his office over any concerns.
We went to the legislature this past session. We were able to secure funding for 3 investigators, 1 criminal investigator, 2 civil investigators, who will look at every one of those reports and contact the filer, and then investigate to see which are correct or which are real and which are issues that aren't a violation of law. It's a misconception or a misunderstanding of the law.
Now, if the investigator finds an issue or a violation with a complaint, they will refer it to the Attorney General's office or the District Attorney's office of the county in which the complaint originated. Newly appointed interim Washoe County Registrar of the Voters, Arianna Burgess, is on the front line.
Already hired, 15 temp staff? No ballot is ever left with just one person. We always have a chain of custody. We have chain of custody paperwork. We follow the laws very strictly. And behind us, you can see the cage where the ballots are kept. Nobody's ever here left alone. Everything is always with at least 2 people and a bipartisan team.
And the Secretary of State's office will be transparent about the number of filed complaints. In 2022, they got around 700. Covering Voters Decide, Josh Meny, 2 News, Nevada.
All right, Josh, thank you. And please stay with 2 News Nevada and CBS News for Voters Decide coverage now through November.
After a pretty soggy start to the week, the blue skies were back today and they were lovely. But how long will they last? Chief Meteorologist Mike Alger is in the Stormwatch Weather Center with the answer. Mike, do you think another round is on the way this week?
Yeah, you asked how long will they have. Let me check my watch here. I mean, we do have another system, fairly quick moving system that's going to come through the area here tonight, taking the blue skies. This is from the top of the Homewood ski area looking out across at blue skies up there. They didn't get a whole lot from this last particular storm, but I think we're going to be looking at a little bit more coming our way here with a fairly quick moving storm on tomorrow. If we take a look at the satellite picture, here's the next one. You can see it roaming out there. This one's wound up pretty well, but it's also moving fairly rapidly. There's a little bit of a split in the flow down to the south, and you can see off here to the west, we're just starting to get some of the leading clouds. Now, how quick is that going to get into our area? Well, if we take a look at our 15-hour futurecast, very high resolution, notice what we're looking at tonight is by about 9, 10, 11 o'clock, we're going to start to see the clouds come in. Right before sunrise, maybe even a shower or two, and then by the time the morning arrives, that's when the main front is at least getting up into the mountains. It's not going to last very long, and this is how much water we could potentially get out of this thing as it pushes on through. Just like all the last storms we've had, much more on the west side of the mountains here. This time, though, we could pick up a 1/4 of an inch, maybe a 1/3 of an inch around Lake Tahoe, and again, probably no more than just a couple 100ths of an inch of water content down here. Now, this one is slightly colder, although those snow levels are going to vary very greatly over the next day and a half. We'll tell you what we might get snow-wise and where coming up here in just a bit.
All right, sounds good, Mike. Thank you. Looking around the west now, a powerful storm pummeled parts of the state yesterday in California, devastating the city of San Diego with heavy rain and flash flooding. Check this out. The Mountain View neighborhood was hit particularly hard as flash flood waters poured 2 to 3 feet of water into homes, cars, and side streets, nearly covering that car. It forced many families to evacuate, even to the rooftops of their homes. Today, San Diego officials said the rain overwhelmed San Diego's drainage system.
The way I explain this to my wife, real simple, is the difference between turning on the faucet to the tub and the faucet to the shower. The faucet to the tub, it fills up very quickly.
The last time San Diego got this much rain so quickly was 90 years ago. And just a reminder, rain or shine, you can always stay on top of the forecast by keeping it here for Stormwatch Weather continuing coverage.
Well, the Washoe County School Board of Trustees met today to discuss and possibly take action on the process for selecting its next superintendent. And they also looked at the timeline for hiring, the scope of recruiting, and the options for who exactly will be doing the search. Alexandra Rae joins us in the newsroom today after listening in on the meeting. Alexandra, what can you tell us?
Gari, the firm who assisted in the search for Dr. Susan Enfield had a clause in their proposal that shows if Enfield left the position for any reason other than illness or death within 2 years of signing her contract, then the Bryan Group would conduct a second search, charging only for expenses. However, the discussion today mentioned either using a local consultant again or a national search. Some in the board say going with the Bryan Group would save them thousands of dollars.
It seems to me indisputable that the Bryan Group should be the one for free, other than expenses, to conduct the research to save us $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $100,000.
But the board also mentioned they want a fuller experience or service with another group with a different professional level. In the end, a motion passed to conduct a national search for the next superintendent of schools for the Washoe County School District. Some of the board members were not on board with this, but the motion did pass with a 5-2 vote. They also passed a motion to hire the group McPherson and Jacobson to lead the search at a cost up to $100,000. Covering School Watch live in the newsroom, Alexandra Rae, 2 News Nevada.
Yelp just released their top 100 places to eat in 2024, and 3 Reno restaurants made the cut. I'm Jaden Urban, and I'll tell you what those restaurants are just in a bit.
And still ahead on 2 News at 4:30, Nevadans are paying more than almost every other state for groceries, according to a recent survey. How much we're spending and which state beats us.
But first, on 2 News Nevada, Mexico filed a lawsuit against some U.S. gun makers. What the country is accusing them of doing after the break.